Hi, I'm Karen Wohlwend. I'm a professor at the Indiana University in the Department of Literacy, Culture, and Language Education. My work primarily looks at children's play in the context of uh, early childhood through elementary settings. So I work closely with teachers to set up activities and instances where children can play their way into literacies. It's kind of my focus. So I've looked very closely at trying to see what kind of meaning making children are doing when they're playing around in either the play kitchen, in the classroom, in their playrooms at home, in video games, online, in all kinds of contexts. It's an interesting question. So for me, digital literacies, I tack on digital literacies to that because that's primarily how I use it, would be screen-based kinds of texts that students use. So that ranges from word processing on a computer keyboard to touch screens and, working through YouTube videos and, playing video games and that kind of thing. So digital to me is an insufficient term to describe the literacies that we see today. This is an area where my work has really concentrated. So if we're interested in a sort of a broader definition of digital literacies, I'm still kind of stuck on that. And we want to think about the expansive way that people work with texts, then we need to have something beyond in the moment, locally situated tools that capture and analyze what's going on. So we can do an over-the-shoulder kind of video capture of someone working on a computer keyboard or on an iPad or something. And that only tells you a tiny fraction of the story because there's a lot of additional actors in, people who designed an app or software or the stories that's being circulated within and without that make you, that turn your attention outward. So I think if we think more about what Jennifer Rousel and I have called participatory literacies, then you begin to look at who's here, who are all the people that are combined with this, and then how do we track back all the things that are coming into this moment so that we can begin to see those circulations. It's a really tiny piece of it, but maybe that's a start. I do think this is really the crux of really what brought me to research on education is that we're in times where digital technologies and beyond are changing so quickly, and the kinds of literacies that people are using in learning in everyday life are not represented in classroom education. So there's quite a disconnect between what children can do at home or online and what is permitted in school. And so one of the, one of my ways of thinking about this is to think about the print literacy that happens in school, where we're really kind of thinking about that individual working in isolation, quietly, don't talk to anyone, and it's going to be producing some kind of text for evaluation and probably not going to go anywhere. As opposed to a participatory literacy where children are working in teams or playing with others, against other opponents, remotely, or creating films together in a team. They are with people, in this time, and they're negotiating and figuring out not only how to make the best meaning that they can all be happy with these technological digital tools, but how to send it out and how to share it. So there's the sharing piece. And then I think we're rapidly moving beyond that. And I think that's where John's work comes in, into the more socio-material literacies, where we see that the tools themselves are shaping a lot of what we do. And so we need to, this might loop back to that methodological question. We need to expand, what we consider when we look at what's going on within a moment, to see how is the tool itself an active piece of this and creating that text. So that's really where my work is going at the present moment with makerspaces, to see a little bit moving beyond screens into wearables, but even wearables is probably not big enough for the kinds of literacies that we see emerging right now. I think that is going to be one of the pressing issues, is just keeping up. The tools change so rapidly, the ways of participating digitally change so rapidly, so how we can manage all that in the context of childhoods where people are trying to protect vulnerable children from screens, and where digital literacy seems somewhat of a threat. So you've got, that's a key tension that is continually in the mix that I bump up against in some of my research and in getting access to things. And then I think for our tools and our methods, we need to expand the ways that we think about literacy itself and what counts as literacy. And so a lot of what I'm doing with mediated discourse analysis, and what I'm calling nexus analysis specifically, is trying to get ourselves untethered from print, and to really think in terms of action, and in terms of the messy assemblages that are always popping up when we're trying to do capture some of the literacies that children are using today. I have a text that's coming out with Routledge in the Expanding Literacies series on nexus analysis for contemporary childhoods. It's called Literacies That Move and Matter. In that book, I'm building off some work with Carmen Medina, where we're talking about imaginaries and thinking, and I'm thinking more about, instead of participatory literacies, even immersive literacies.